Planned Parenthood, there's been a really huge uproar about defunding Planned Parenthood. If anyone here has watched the Republican debates, and even if you haven't, you'll see that almost every single Republican says we need to defund Planned Parenthood based on one fact that they say Planned Parenthood pays for abortions and they don't agree in abortion, and they would like for it to be defunded so that they could stop giving those abortions. But the counter argument to that is the facts actually prove that only 3% of their budget goes to abortions. No federal funding goes to abortions. Federal funding strictly goes to their other things that they do. And the other things that they do are helping out poor people who cannot afford proper health care. One, because we do have starvation wages in this country. And two, because health care is so expensive. It is the leading cause of bankruptcy in this country. So that is what Planned Parenthood is supposed to be focused on. It's just helping people who honestly try their damnedest but still can't help themselves and still just can't provide for them and all their children, and giving basic human needs. These people aren't doing open heart surgery. They're giving women pap smears, and they're making sure that you don't have cancer. Like things that if you don't catch early on, they can become the issues that lead you to bankruptcy down the road. But they do provide abortion opportunities, and they do, have those services. And for that reason, and also because many Republicans don't believe in social welfare programs, they believe people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They want to completely defund it. Chris, what are you thinking about Planned Parenthood?
Well, I think that they should absolutely defund them. I get that it's not all about abortions and whatever statistic of them doesn't do abortions. When you have a federally funded organization that the majority of what they do is federally funded, it allows them the ability to function, and then if they have the ability then as that existing entity to raise money from somewhere else for that purpose, or use whatever funding they get from another source to provide abortions. I think that abortions are wrong, but I also believe they're necessary. There have been studies, like in a very well-known book called Freakonomics, where in specific states where abortion has been introduced, the crime rate went down, like substantially. And then it came back up because those laws were repealed. And then they were reintroduced, and the crime rates dropped again. And it's incredibly coincidental to have it happen one time, but to have it happen repeatedly, because people are getting pregnant younger and younger and having sex younger and younger, whether you know the consequences or not, the fact that it happens and there's no way to really provide because you've got yourself in a situation to where now, what am I going to do? The crime rates go up. So I understand why abortions help, but I don't agree with the idea of killing children. I think if you made that decision, whether you were informed or not, you brought life into this world. If you want to put up for adoption, if you want to, sign away your rights, if you want to, however you want to handle that, if you want to keep it, whatever. I love the idea of it's a woman's choice, but you made a choice, and now you brought another life into the world, and now you're making choices for someone that can't speak for themselves. You stop them from having the ability to live any longer because, I made a bad choice, but instead of being an adult, I'm going to be a child, and I'm going to respond I don't want to have a kid, I'm not ready. Well, you were ready to make the adult decision and have, the adult act. You want to do all the stuff that it entails, but you don't want to deal with the consequences of it, which is a huge problem for people in general. They don't want to stick with, the things that they, the repercussions for what they've done. So, with Planned Parenthood, I'm sorry, I kind of trailed off on that a little bit, but with the funding, I think it's a joke that they're funded by the government because we have Obamacare. All this noise about having the universal healthcare system from other countries and taking care of everybody, but poor people still can't afford it. What do we have it for? I don't understand.
It's not universal healthcare.
Isn't it supposed to be based on that idea though? It's affordable healthcare for
it's
everyone.
It's still a single payer system.
That was Obama's flagship. Why are there people who first of all being
before we go on, I do want to ask you a quick question real quick before we go to Brandon and Jaysin. So do you believe conception starts as soon as, for lack of a better term, the sperm hits the egg? As soon as it is fertilized, do you consider that a child? Or is there a particular limit, say, which most abortions aren't given after, I think it's
like
20 weeks? Most abortions aren't given after a certain amount of period. So would you agree with that period? Do you think that period should be shorter, or as soon as there's a baby in there at any point in time, it has all the rights of a regular human?
Brandon?
No, I'm asking you in particular.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to ask Brandon.
After this.
Oh, all right. No, dude, like, I think that when that egg is fertilized and you're deemed pregnant, which you can know inside of a couple of days.
Yeah, you can know.
Okay, if you're pregnant, that means life has already begun the process. It is happening. So whether or not you go up to someone and you shoot them in the face, or you're 1,000 miles away and you press a button and you nuke them, you don't ever have to meet any of them. It's still there. So I think that whether or not you, I don't define it as, well, it's not, it won't feel pain or whatever, like, you robbed the life and the opportunity from someone that you never met. That's more criminal to me than anything. Mm-hmm. I get that it's a scary situation. I get that you don't want to deal with that. But in my mind, you made a decision, you were put in that spot, and that's where you're at now. I also understand there's the argument about rape. But that's kind of like when I hear people who say, like when they see someone who's obese, like, well, maybe they can't help it. It's maybe they have a condition. I refuse to believe that everyone who gets an abortion was raped. It doesn't happen. It's just a lot of irresponsible people. There are people who get raped. It's a horrific thing, and that's a situation that is dealt with separately. But I don't assume that that's, well, what about these people? And then make that the standard for everybody, because you can make the argument that there are people who were raped, so it should be available to, well, then how do you determine who was raped and who wasn't? Like, you just blanket it across everybody because of a minority of people, when a large majority of them are kids in high school hooking up at prom. So I think that it starts at conception.
What about you, Jaysin, in defunding Planned Parenthood?
Okay, so I get where you're coming from. My problem with it is I actually don't know how I feel about abortion. I can understand both sides of that argument. Yeah. But for me, Planned Parenthood is very important. Just to give a few facts and run down a little list of some of the functions they perform. So Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of reproductive health services in the U.S. With clinical interactions focused on breast, cervical, and testicular cancer screenings, pregnancy testing and counseling, testing and treatment of sexually transmitted diseases, menopause treatments, vasectomies, HIV screening, counseling, contraception, and abortion, plus more. They not only do that here in America, they also do that in other countries such as Latin America and Africa. And they roughly perform about 300,000 abortions annually among the 3 million people the organization serves. The other thing with that is...
It's 1%, right? But 300,000 for 3 million is 1%, my math's right. Yeah. Just want to make sure.
Another thing is, and I'm sure we all know, is that the House recently passed a bill to defund Planned Parenthood. Yeah. We don't know if it's going to pass Senate, and we already know President Obama said he's going to veto it. Yeah. But when that happens, the CBO, or Congressional Budget Office, has to determine how much it's going to cost to enact that legislation. And they found that it's going to cost $130 million over a decade to defund Planned Parenthood. So for me, personally, given everything else that they do,
there's a lot.
I think if we defund them, it's just going to hurt us in the long run.
I get that. The Planned Parenthood's number one problem is that they're called Planned Parenthood, which to people sounds like planned abortions. that's what that sounds like.
Planned pregnancy.
If it wasn't Planned Parenthood, it was like, Universacare or something. Just whatever. Like, they do provide a good number of the contraceptives, the birth control options, and things with helping with the disease and cancers and all that. That's great. But because they offer the whole aspect of abortion as an option, people will want to dismiss all of it. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I don't like the idea that they provide that service. But I also don't get why they're around. when we passed Obamacare, which the whole point of that is to make it...
That's new. Yeah, go right ahead, Brandon.
The reason, now yes, Obamacare was passed, people, way more people were insured and could get affordable health care and reasonable health care.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is when it comes to Planned Parenthood it is a more specific area of expertise for women's health. And, a lot of women didn't have insurance. And so they have to, that's where they went. So that is their normal doctor, their normal primary care physician for a lot of their women issues. And I mean, not only that, you've got, so many, we've been talking about, they have so many other things that they're doing. It's not just the abortion services. I love everything that the military is doing, but I hate war, so I should take my money out of the military. Just because you don't like one specific thing that a company does not mean that you're going to trash the whole company. Especially when it comes to, our health services. We do have, epidemics in this country that are, maybe not full-fledged disease epidemics, but we've got obesity. We've got, 8-year-olds with diabetes. We've got, so many things that doctors do have to handle that, these practitioners at Planned Parenthood have a specific area of expertise and knowledge to help, the general population. And people who do have insurance now, not all of the services provided for by Planned Parenthood is covered by the insurance on Obamacare.
Which
some is, some is not.
Mind. So that was supposed to be the whole point of the whole damn thing.
It has been cut into pieces.
It was, but when you do legislation like that, people are always going to take out stuff and put in stuff that goes against
because it was a Democratic bill. That's why.
No, you can't say that. Even Republican bills do the same thing. That's politics.
No. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying the reason it got stuff cut was because it was the Democratic Party. Like Republicans are. No, I'm saying because it was a Democratic bill, the Republicans came and were attacking it.
Yeah.
It does happen with Republican bills as well. It's just like because it was a Democratic bill with the D in front of it, that's why I got attacked.
Yeah.
Straight up. That's the only reason. And so, I shouldn't have this, or I shouldn't have this. It's all that backwards ass agenda that whatever party has to keep going with the voting process later on. I mean, I'm not saying that, they're an evil company. I mean, I think that the federal funding goes to helping them exist, and the stuff they do is great. But I don't agree with that one aspect of it. But I am not a baby in bathwater person. I mean, as a Christian, I don't agree with abortion. Straight up don't agree with it. Never will. But I don't think that they should be non-funded by the government just for the fact of because it enables them to do the abortions. I don't think the government should play a part in your ability to receive health care, because then the party decides, what is it that we deem health care necessary for. That's why we got people complaining about it now. It's like, well, you're homeless and they need health care. It's like, well, you should be working, getting a job then. So now everything based on you getting health care is whether or not you're working hard enough in the eyes of the Republican Party, or whether or not or what your situation is in the eyes of the Democratic Party. Instead of, let's help everyone out. Everyone has a certain level. You need to kind of meet us halfway on this, that, or the other, or we have this in place for you. It's up to you to go, and we have places for you to do it. Planned Parenthood is a good company for providing those services. I think that's great.
So you're saying you want to get the politics out of it. That's kind of what you're at the end of the day. You want it to be its own entity, and even if they get funded by the government has no say, no political party can say anything or change anything of that.
Yeah, I mean, just like it shouldn't affect, religion. I mean, the government should not dictate how you live your life outside of keeping you safe and making sure that the country is operating the best it can. I think that the federal funding allows them to grow to the point where they can do the abortions. And to me, the abortion is a separate thing there. But them being federally funded, period, I think is also a problem, because that it allows the government to have its hand in something that I don't think that they should. I think that if there's a lot of people dying, they should step in and try and stop the problem.
But you think it's the Republicans right now that are doing exactly what you're saying they shouldn't do. They are sticking their hands in this company because they are funding it and trying to say, this is how you're supposed to do it. And if you don't do it that way, we're taking all of our money. Yeah. That's straight up influence.
No, and absolutely. And the parties that exist will have ideas that I agree with. And it's not just the Republican Party, it will be the Democratic Party or stuff that they both like that I'm like, you guys both suck, and I don't want to have any part of either side. But I do agree with the Republican idea that it should not be federally funded, even if my view on why it shouldn't be is different than theirs. Because theirs is based on the outrage of the videos of Planned Parenthood apparently harvesting organs of aborted fetuses and this very awful practice that they are supposedly doing. People react to that. You hear it, and even though it threatens to shut the government down, and even though that's not their intention, even though that poses a threat to the government, and that if it goes through Senate, it will most likely get knocked out, and even if it makes it through Senate, the president has already promised to shut the thing down. The guy who has the power to say veto just because, or even if he doesn't sign it because he's too lazy to, if he just decides, I don't want to deal with it, I'm not even going to give it my time of day. In 7 days, it's void because he didn't even address it. So he doesn't even have to sign the damn thing. He doesn't even have to even try to veto it. He can just let it go and not even let it bother his day. This is known knowledge, and they are still pushing it anyes. So I think the Republicans suck for doing it, and I think that
when they should be using that energy for other things that they can actually push and try to help people. It's kind of the main premise.
It's fear mongering. It's getting people pissed off, so they stay focused on anti-dem. I don't know.
You're right. Anti-democrat.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. And especially when the videos have been proven to be highly false.
Yeah, they have been edited.
Yeah. And another thing with that is then with Carly Fiorina at the second debate.
She was so passionate about it.
So passionate about it, but completely flat out lying about it.
Yeah.
And then, just recently...
Even Fox said she was lying.
Yeah, even Fox, which is...
Crazy. But I didn't think they'd follow him.
Checks you.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But the craziest thing about it is that she doubled down on it, and then her super PACs released a video. Absolutely ridiculous. There's no proof that it came from Planned Parenthood, but it's trying to prove what she was saying was true, but then when they show the baby, there's no sound to it, just the sound that they added to the video. And then they go to a woman who worked at Planned Parenthood at one point in time, making a claim that she heard someone say that. So it's not 100% true that someone said that.
I know. Jeez.
It's just, there's no proof at all to what she's saying, but now there's her fake video.
No, there was one other question I wanted to ask everybody. Just kind of go around the room real quick. Abortion is legal. It's been passed. Abortion is, it's constitutionally viable. It is passed by the Supreme Court. This is now a law in this land. No matter what anyone cares about it, it's been proven that, abortion is legal.
That's right.
So, should we start being able to ban things that are being proven legal? And I think this even kind of goes to the new, gay marriage vote. The Supreme Court now says this is legal. Should we be able to start being, as a country, pick and choose what an organization can or cannot do because that's the way we feel,
Or it goes against
or it goes against my religion, or it goes against anything, or I just don't like them at all. I don't like Planned Parenthood. I don't care. I don't think they should be around. Should we be able to start dictating what people can and cannot do when it comes to something that is legal? And Brandon, I'll go to you first.
No, I wouldn't say that you should. I'm not completely grasping your question.
Can we outlaw things that are legal in this country just because we don't like them?
Oh, absolutely. We do it all the time.
But is it right? Should we be able to? Is that right?
Depending on what it is. Yes, certain drugs should be kept illegal. Straight up. But they weren't always like that. We've come to learn later on, no, heroin's real bad. You can't just sell it in a bottle while you're at the circus. We've got to regulate it. We've got to ban it. We've got to do whatever. So, I think with more evidence, more research, more time taken with, that particular law or legality or whatever, yeah, you may have to ban it. Cigarettes may get banned one day because of the health, effects. Mm-hmm. So it just depends. Yeah, I think we can still ban things that are illegal, depending on, what comes after it, the research and study that comes after it.
But based on that same logic and kind of based on even on what Chris said earlier, is one, abortion has stood the test of time. There's been abortion since we've been people. So it's been proven that, hey, where people are going to do it, cleaning it up and making it a professional thing is the safest thing to do. But also it can do things that has other externalities like lowering crime rates when it's allowed to be legal and it's not being suppressed by the government.
Which is a proven fact.
Now, if you're asking me if I think abortion should be made illegal, no, I do not.
Okay.
I believe it should be legal, safe, and rare. I think that it should be used if it's needed, but I don't think it should be used as birth control. Okay. Period.
I agree with that. All right, so I need to restate my question again. Should abortion be banned even though it's legal? Like, should we start banning abortion even though it's proven the test of time and it's something that is legal in this country? Chris?
I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about, or what I was saying earlier about how your faith impacts how you act in your life, like your character, your morals, your principles, what you're about. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that we need to eliminate abortion because this is a Christian nation. I don't agree with the practice because my faith convicts me that that is a sinful act. It's the one that I do not agree with. I can see historically and the way that it's helped and how, why it's around, why it's a thing. I get that. I understand. I also understand that I'm not the girl who was taken advantage of, or, and it's never talked about like that because we're an incredibly sexist nation, but the guy who might have gotten taken advantage of in a situation, like women who try and get the guy to get them knocked up. I mean, that goes both ways. But I think that if you are morally compelled, then you should be able to turn it over, because there have been times in our nation where we had the North and the South. You guys were not people. I mean, it was, and that was morally wrong to Lincoln, which is why he could have ended the war earlier than he did, but he stretched it out to allow him to fight for, the civil liberties of blacks, which was part of why he was such a good president. So, I mean, I do believe that that if you are morally compelled to turn a law, just because it's a law doesn't mean it's right, which is why Martin Luther King fought so freaking hard to, for those liberties. It's law, you sit here. No, that's not okay. I mean, you can be compelled and believe that that's not the right way to go. But, and which is why I do think we should have the opportunity to.
So I think overall we all are kind of.
Hold on, real quick. I'd like to ask Chris one question. You said that you believe one way, but you understand another. Yeah. How do you reconcile the two?
Yeah, that's deep.
That is deep.
Well, okay, because ultimately, this is kind of like that chick who was working at the government office and refusing to do the gay marriage.
Kim Davis.
Yeah, Kim Davis. Okay.
Yeah, 3 counties over.
All right.
For you,
okay. All right. Look, she says that she's a Christian. She's been divorced 3-4 times. Okay. My thing is, if you don't agree with it, you have no part of it. You either stand for something, you fall for everything. So make up your mind. If you are compelled, you don't work that job. If you do work that job and your boss says to you, we're doing this now, and you say no, he should fire you on the spot, because that is your job. If you no longer agree, you leave. But this whole process of where she's going and oh, she's a hero, she's like her own idea of Rosa Parks, it's unreal. If you don't agree with it, cool, don't go with it. But that's the way it is. So I'm not gonna let it ruin my whole day, because do I understand? I can see both sides. I can understand the viewpoint of the fox and the hound. I really get it. I don't agree.
That's an interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I agree with one side of those two, but I understand why why it's here. I get how it came to be. I get the purpose it serves. I understand the historical benefits that it's given, even though that I think it's a heinous thing to do. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that I don't if it was up to me only, I would still repeal abortion, because I think there's a number of other factors that play into things like the crime rate or other stuff like that. But if you don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that you have to wake up in a world where you're like, well, we have abortion and I need to go out of my way. Look, vote for it then. Yeah. But there are other things, bigger things that I have to worry about, because ultimately I'm not going to participate in the Abortion Act. Yeah. If I made a decision, I will stick by my decision because I'm an adult. I'm not going to go I'm really not ready for a kid right now. Then I should have been fucking knocking up people without taking the precautions or making sure that it was someone who I wanted to take that risk with. Yeah. So, for me, it's personal application versus everybody.
Broad generalization.
I'll still make the decision based on.
So I think we all kind of agree. I think even Jaysin would agree that you can overturn a law if you believe strongly in it. Like, if you want to fight for that, we're not saying you can't fight for it. Right. But strictly on abortion, and abortion is legal, do you think abortion should be kind of overturned in this country?
Do I think it should be overturned? Not at all. And this could go with my lack of faith, me being an atheist. But I think it more goes to the fact that this country is a secular country. We cannot declare a religion in this country. So you can feel strongly about it, and if you want to take it down, then your argument needs to not have any basis in religion. It needs to be based on the facts of why it needs to be overturned. And if you do that and you present a good enough argument, then maybe I can go, okay, I can see that. Maybe we should.
So what do you mean by facts? Do you mean if abortion is bad more for the nation as a whole, or what do you mean by facts?
If there are facts that are saying, that having abortion means that
health complications and
women are dying left and right. And
So you're saying if the practice is safe, then it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Because when it wasn't legal, the practice was not safe.
It wasn't.
And it was
you had women dying at home and on their kitchen table.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very gruesome. And I can't not talk about this topic because of course I've asked everyone. The only reason, and I think my reason is different than most other people's, I go back to women being in fully control of their own body. But even further than that, when you take a human life, whether you're in the military or whether it's a child, if you choose that child's better off not being in this world, you choose that person's better off not being in this world. Who has to live with that and who has to sleep with that at the end of the day? You.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the one who will have to deal with those issues internally and will have to deal with that mentally. And that is, I think, a whole nother argument that a lot of people overlook, because I think when you take any life whatsoever, that plays a mental toll on you, and you have to recognize that. And to just say that, she can't do it because I don't think she should be able to do it, I think that's not right, because you're going to sleep fine regardless of whether she does it or not. She's the one who has to come to peace with that and make sure that she made the right decision. And there's a slew of women out there who are deeply hurt by the decision that they had to make and go through serious traumas in their life after making that decision, and that's their cross, their burden that they have to bear. And there's other women who know, I come from an alcoholic, druggy family, I'm never gonna really make a lot of money, and this child is gonna have a horrible life.
Or I'm not even going to clean up. I don't even choose to drive.
Exactly. So I would rather not put that child through that type of torture. And for them people, they feel
one argument is we'll put them up for adoption. Have the child, put them up. That's one argument. But the issue is, look at our adoption agencies right now. They're full to the brim, and they can't give these children away.
American children.
Yeah. They really just can't. So I mean, there does come a point in time where you have to look. We can put them in child services, we can put them, foster parents, adoptive parents, whatever. But you're not getting a whole lot of success stories out of that area.
No. So we have
to go ahead and just say, look, kid, I'm sorry.
No.
But I think for different reasons. And again, I think no one can harp on you for your reason, because when you believe in something, like you said, if you did that, you would have that child. You have to stick by your beliefs. You can't be wishy-washy if you want to pick a belief. Like, if you're going to pick a belief and stand by it, stand by that belief in all aspects, whether it be your marriage that you don't like, but you chose it. That was your choice. Stay with it. Don't go off, commit adultery, which she did, have 2 children by another man, and then get divorced 2 more times, and then go back to the second guy, and then try to claim that, oh, someone else wanting to get married is such a crime against this nation, and she based it solely on her religious beliefs. Based on your religious beliefs, you're in a lot of trouble.